Hello everyone, I welcome you all to Conquer UPSC. Today we are going to take up the discussion on history of Mughals. Basically there are two things which are much important in history. What is this? First is introduction. Second is decline. ठीक है, introduction of new thing, new people entering into the powers like Mughals in this case. Before Mughals who were ruling India, the decline of that particular dynasty. I told you the way Delhi Sultanate was ruling before entry of the Mughals, and hope you know Battle of Panipat, first Battle of Panipat where Babur has defeated Ibrahim Lodi. We are going to discuss about that. So basically two things are very important. One is introduction and second is decline in order to establish the linking in between the topic. Alright, so today we are going to discuss in the same way as the history is going to be discussed with the student of optional subject. We are going to talk about most important empire of India called Mughal Sultanate. See friends, we are going to discuss the history of Mughals in two phases. In first phase, we'll talk about those Mughals who ruled India in between 1526 to 1707. 1526. In this particular year, the Babur has founded the Mughal Empire. Starting from Babur, 1707, the last Mughal Empire, Aurangzeb, died in 1707. From the beginning of Babur rule to the death of Aurangzeb, Aurangzeb died in 1707. This is the end of the first phase, which is the most glorious phase. In the first phase, we are going to talk about the history of six great rulers of Mughal Empire. After the death of Aurangzeb, the glory and grandeur of the empire came to an end, but not the empire. Even after the death of Aurangzeb, the Mughal Sultanate continued for 150 years, say from 1707 to 1857. The second phase, which covers around 150 years of history, where we have some 9 Mughal rulers, 9 sultans. And look, and this is the most inglorious part of the Mughals history. All Mughal rulers in second phase happen to be politically impotent, worthless. All are worthless. And we are going to have quick discussion about them, not in medieval but in modern period. Because this period 1707 to 1857 directly linked to the developments in the modern period. That is the reason why I would like to discuss the second phase of Mughal history in modern period. Here, right now, I will confine myself to the discussion of Mughals from Babur to Aurangzeb, which is the greater phase. Before I start the political history, let me give the information on these personalities. Let us discuss the background of Mughals. We need to collect the answer for 3 questions. Who are these Mughals are? From where did they come? What circumstances have brought them to India? I tell you, these Mughals belongs to the Mongol community, which was the tribe in Central Asia. Hope you know the great personality of Mongol was Genghis Khan. Strictly speaking, Mughals belongs to Genghis Khan family. In fact, they claim the descendancy from Genghis Khan. When Genghis Khan was the leader of Mongols, they are not Muslims. They are not Muslims. Genghis Khan, who settled in China, had adopted Buddhism, and Buddhism has continued for several years. But little later, slowly, there was Islamization of Mughals. Islamization. Mongols slowly got Islamized, and very famous Mongol leader in 14th century was Timur. You call it call him as Taimur or call him as Timur. I don't have any problem. People of England call him Timur and we used to call Taimur. Taimur has built a vast empire. Samarkand as capital. Samarkand. Generally, we consider Taimur as the progenitor, ancestor, forefather of Mughal family. Actually, Mughals history generally starts from Taimur only. The Babur who came to India and founded great empire happened to be the great grandson of Taimur. Taimur had built such a vast empire, Samarkand today. You find this city modern, it is known as Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan. The extent of this empire touched to one end at the Volga River. Volga River. Volga River at one end and other end at Indus River. Just imagine the size of such vast empire. Volga River, Volga River flowing in Russia. His empire gone almost touching Russia on one side and Indus River on the borders of India. Hope you know this man has invaded Delhi when Tughlaqs were the ruler. He looted India, he looted Delhi, invaded Delhi, but never stayed in Delhi, never conquered Delhi because already had a kingdom. He never wanted to expand his kingdom. Such a vast empire was in his hand. What Taimur has done in his last days is he has taken an intelligent decision on dividing his empire into many kingdoms and distributing it among his successors. He know very well such vast empire could not be ruled or controlled by single authority, single person. As a result, many kingdoms have been created from his empire. Now, what are the kingdoms have been created from his empire? First is Samarkand. Second is Herat. Third is Kabul. And the fourth is Farghana. Farghana. All these kingdoms were created by Taimur from his empire by dividing it into many states, many principalities and distributed them among his successors. There are two reasons behind it. First, vast empire cannot be controlled by a single authority. Second, he wanted to avoid the war of succession among his children. We least bother about Samarkand. We least bother about Herat. And even we are least bothered about Kabul. What important to us is Farghana. Farghana is important because our hero of this episode came from Farghana. Mughals actually belongs to Farghana. Hope you know Farghana today is what? Farghana today is Kyrgyzstan. So Mughals came to India from Kyrgyzstan basically. In 1494, Babur became the king of Farghana. Let me add one point here. Babur is not the immediate successor of Taimur. There are 4 generations between Taimur and Babur. And the Babur was the 5th generation descendant of Taimur. So there are 4 generations like Taimur 1, Taimur 2, Taimur 3, Taimur 4. This man, Babur, is of 5th generation. That is, Taimur was great grandfather of Babur. When Babur became the king of Farghana, he was not happy with Farghana. There was a life ambition for him, and the life ambition was to rule Samarkand. Yes, Babur wanted to rule Samarkand. When compared to all these Taimuri kingdoms, we call it as Taimurid kingdom because all were created by the Taimur. Samarkand was most powerful. There was all-round development in Samarkand during Timur period. Naturally, because Samarkand was the capital of Timur. As a capital, there was all-round development, wonderful development, economic development, commercial development, cultural development, educational development. So Babur life ambition was to rule Samarkand. He is not interested in Farghana, but Samarkand. And he makes several attempts to capture Samarkand. In his first attempt to conquer Samarkand, look at, he lost Farghana and became homeless. First invasion he made against Samarkand was not successful. Second attempt, again it was not successful. Third attempt was successful. He expelled successfully the ruler of Samarkand and capital Samarkand was captured by him and he sat on the throne of Samarkand. Now his life ambition was cherished. He fulfilled his life ambition. He was in Samarkand as a ruler for a couple of years, extremely happy with that, and slowly started neglected Farghana. The things in Farghana became worst. One of his cousin revolted against one of his cousin has revolted against Babur. What happened? Despite the revolt, Babur never paid any attention because he was least bothered about Farghana and allowed his cousin to take away Farghana. Look at his happiness did not last for longer. He was very happy in Samarkand for a couple of years only. He ruled. The Samarkand king who was dismissed, remember all these were rulers basically. The kings of Samarkand who was dismissed gathered the support of neighboring kingdoms, came with heavy army and defeated Babur, and Babur was expelled from Samarkand. What happened? Babur has lost Samarkand as well as he lost Farghana. So in his attempts to conquer Samarkand, he lost his homeland called Farghana and dreamland Samarkand. Finally, he was left with a small army, neither in a position to capture Samarkand nor Farghana. He now wanted some shelter basically, where to settle right now. Now his eyes were on Kabul. Okay, he lost Farghana, he lost Samarkand. Now his eyes was on Kabul. If all these kingdoms, the Kabul was weakest, Babur finally convened that it is a time for him to attack Kabul, capture it and settle there. Then look for Samarkand and Farghana. Whatever the little army he left with, he invaded Kabul and Kabul was occupied. He was in Kabul, remember, just for time being basically. His concentration was still on west side. In west, we have Samarkand. So, with his little army, he wanted to invade Kabul and occupied Kabul. He was in Kabul for just time being. His concentration was on west side, dreamland Samarkand, and east side, homeland Farghana. From Kabul, he was basically making preparations to conquer his kingdom. 1 year, 2 year, 10 year, almost 20 years gone, but nothing happened. 20 years Babur was in Kabul. Finally, he gone in frustration. At any cost, he wanted to get back Samarkand and Farghana. But the things for him is unfavorable. In his autobiography, I will talk about his autobiography little later. In his autobiography, he writes that Kabul was so backward. The income is so mere that he not even in position to pay the salaries to his armies, existing army. How to increase the army now? And I tell you, without additional army to attack Samarkand and Farghana is suicidal. And king of Samarkand much powerful. Year after year, decade after decade, they are becoming stronger and stronger. Finally, Babur was in frustration. He unable to stay in Kabul. and at the same time unable to capture Samarkand and Farghana. When Babur was in frustration, he received two invitations from Indians. Look at the problem of Indians. Not one, but two invitations. Babur in his autobiography was writing what he said was he was quite fortunate. On single day, he got two invitations. One in morning and other one is in evening, requesting him to invade India. The point is, who sent the two invitations to Babur? Babur was invited by his rivals, the two rivals of Ibrahim Lodi. I'm sorry, Babur was invited by the two rivals of Ibrahim Lodi. The two rivals of Ibrahim Lodi invited Babur to invade India. One is Rana Sangram Singh, the Sisodia king of Mewar. Second is, I tell you who is second. So Rana Sangram Singh was the king of Mewar, belongs to Rajput dynasty. Sangram Singh and Ibrahim Lodi were rivals. Rana Sangram Singh was having his eye on Delhi. Rana Sangram Singh wanted somebody to come from outside and crush Ibrahim Lodi, and so that we would be politically benefited. What he thought was, like great grandfather of Babur, he invade India, he loot India, he captured the wealth of India and go back. That was actually the calculation of Rana Sangram Singh, which went wrong. Babur accepted the invitation, came from India, defeated Ibrahim Lodi, dismissed Ibrahim Lodi, and settled completely in India. Okay, I again repeat. What Rana Sangram Singh has made the calculations was what he thought, like great grandfather, Babur will come to India, will loot India, will capture the wealth of India, and go back. That was actually the calculation of Rana Sangram Singh, which went wrong. Babur accepted the invitation, came to India, dismissed Ibrahim Lodi by defeating him, and settled completely in India. Ultimately, the calculations made by Rana Sangram Singh was failure. And that was the certain shock to Rana Sangram Singh. He thought, like his great grandfather, he will come and go back, but he was failed to assess the position of Taimur and Babur. Babur is almost like homeless fellow basically. Why he go back? But Taimur was in position, was different from the Babur. He was the emperor of vast empire. No further annexation were needed for him. So this point, which could not assess properly by Rana Sangram Singh, had committed historical blunder by inviting Babur. Strictly speaking, Babur does not need any invitation to invade India. But these two fellows who invited Babur, given him the idea of invading India. He does not need any invitation, but the idea was given by these two fellows. One is Rana Sangram Singh and the second is Daulat Khan Lodi. He was not a king. Daulat Khan Lodi was not a king, but uncle of Ibrahim Lodi. This fellow belonged to Lodi family, in fact, uncle of Ibrahim Lodi, and he was the governor of Punjab and rival of Ibrahim Lodi. Don't forget this. He wanted somebody to come and see the end of his nephew, political rival of Ibrahim Lodi. In fact, what this fellow has done was he sent his own son to Kabul to invite Babur to invade India. So Babur write in his autobiography that it was a golden opportunity. It was a God sent opportunity for him. Now he started cursing himself why he did not get the idea to invade India. He was very close to India. He spent 20 years of difficulty in Kabul. Hope you know, Kabul even today is the neighboring country of India. So he spent 20 years of difficulty in Kabul, ignoring the rest and focusing on Samarkand and Farghana. Now he started cursing himself why he did not get the idea of India. When he was a child, he was told many stories of great great grandfather going to India, looting India, and why he did not get the idea. Anyways, after receiving invitation, I tell you, he stopped thinking in the western direction, in west direction, and he abandoned the idea of capturing Central Asia permanently. Very idea was to abandon and came to India and settled down in India permanently. These are the circumstances which brought Babur to India, Mughals to India. Now we need to discuss the political history of Babur and other Mughals will be doing in next session. Hope now it is very clear that why these people came to India, what circumstances has brought to India, if they came to India, do we consider them as the foreigner? These people are not the foreigners. Same thing what happened at the ancient time was after the decline of Mauryans, Indo-Greeks came to in India. Why I am saying Indo-Greek? Because they are the people of the Greek, but little later they become Indian. Indianization of them have had taken place. Similarly, these people, Babur and all Mughals, were not the part of India, but after some time, Indianization of these people have been taken place. So these are not the foreigners. Anyways, this is all about the introduction of Mughals or entry of Babur into the India. Now, if you like this lecture, please hit like and share this lecture among your friends and whatever the groups you are into on Facebook, Instagram, and all. Please do comments for what you want from me, what you expect from my lectures. And thank you very much.